Hello, guys. Welcome to my live. Welcome to my live. So, welcome. You are welcome. So, today we'll be talking about angles in a polygon. Today, we'll be talking about angles in a polygon. And before we do that, we are going to. Sorry, give me a moment. Yeah. All right. So before we do that, we're going to talk about different types of angle. Before we go into the topic proper, we're going to be talking about different types of angles. So we have various types of angles. The first angle I'm going to talk about is the acute angles. So the acute angles are angles that are less than 90 degrees. They are angles that are less than 90 degrees. We have 47 degrees, we have 32 degrees, we have 89 degrees, we have 65 degrees. All of these are called acute angles because they are less than 90 degrees. Now, the next type of angles I would like to talk about is the right angle. Now, the right angle is exactly 90 degrees. I think I'll need to show it on the board. So we have our acute angle looks like this. It is always less than 90 degrees. So it can be 37 degrees, it can be 48 degrees, it can be 89 degrees. Any angle that is less than 90 degrees is called an acute angle. Now, the next angle I will talk about is the right angled triangle, the right angle. So the right angle is always exactly 90 degrees. It's not more than 90 degrees. It's not less than 90 degrees. It is always exactly 90 degrees. And then we have what we call the obtuse angle. This is the acute. This is acute. This is right angle, and then we have the obtuse angle. Now, one very special thing about obtuse angle is that it is more than 90 degrees, it's more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Yeah, it is more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. Examples are 95 degrees, 128 degrees, 162 degrees. All of these are called obtuse angles. They are more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. Now, the next angle on our list is the straight angle. The straight angle. Now, this angle is exactly 180 degrees. It is the combination of two right angles, actually. So, two right angles would come together to form a straight line angle. It is always equal to 180 degrees. Now, the last angle I will talk about, okay, not particularly the last. The next angle is the reflex angle. Now, the reflex angle is more than 180 degrees. The reflex angle is more than 180 degrees, but less than 360. The reflex angle is more than 180 degrees, but less than 360 degrees. Now, the last type of angle is the angle at a point. The angle at a point. The angle at a point is exactly 360 degrees. That is because it comprises of four right angles, or we could say two straight line angles. So you have something like this. This is a right angle, this is a right angle, this is another right angle, and this is another right angle. And 90 times 4 will give you 360. So this is angle at a point, and it is always equal to 360 degrees. I decided to give this little breakdown so that when we are working, you would have an idea of what we are doing. So these are the different types of angles, and we'll be making use of them in solving our questions. Okay, we'll be making use of them in solving our questions. So let's start. We're going to start solving questions from the very, very simple ones. We'll pick very, very simple questions, and from there, we'll move on to, how we do it. We'll move on to the more complicated, not really complicated per se, but we'll start from the unknown and then move on to the unknown. Yeah. So let's start from this. So I want to find, so this is 130 degrees. I want to find this. Want to find the letter, the missing letter, which is letter A. So remember, you would notice that these two angles are actually on a straight line. Can you see that? They're actually on a straight line. And we already said that the angles on a straight line are exactly 180 degrees. So the sum of angles on a straight line is equal to 180 degrees. It doesn't matter how many angles you have. It doesn't matter how many different angles you have. The fact that they are all on a straight line tells you that they must sum up to 180 degrees. They are called supplementary angles. We have supplementary angles and then we have complementary angles. So supplementary angles, let me write it here. So supplementary angles are angles that add up to 180 degrees. They add up to 180 degrees. They are always on a straight line and they add up to 180 degrees. While the complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So we have the supplementary angles and we have the complementary angles. The supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees and then the complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Now you would say that this particular question is a supplementary angle. They are on a straight line and both of them add up to 180 degrees. It's a supplementary angle. So and since we know that supplementary angles always add up to 180 degrees, so we'll say A plus 130 degrees equals 180 degrees. They sum up to 180. So the addition of both of them must be equal to 180 degrees. Now, what would our A be? Our A would be, last week I told you, I don't know if you still remember, last week I said that when we want to isolate the letter, you could just move this over to the other side. And when you move this over to the other side, the sign would change to the opposite. So the opposite of positive 130 is negative 130. So when it comes over to this side, it becomes negative 130 degrees. And when we subtract, we get 50 degrees. So the missing angle here is 50 degrees. That is because 50 plus 130 would give you 180. I'm starting from the very, very simple one so that we can progress as we go. Okay? So let's take another interesting question. We have this is 75 degrees, this is B degrees, and then we have 25 degrees. Now these are on a straight line, so that means they would all sum up to 180. So let's write. So we have B degrees plus 25 degrees plus 75 degrees equals 180 degrees. That is because they are angles, the sum of angles on the straight line is equal to 180 degrees. So let's add this together. 25 plus 75 will give us 100 degrees. And so we need to make our B stand alone because that is what we're looking for. So B equals 180. We're moving this over to this side, minus 100. So our B equals 180 minus 100 equals 80 degrees. Super easy. Our answer is 80 degrees. And if you should check, if you should put 80 here, 75 plus 25 is 100. 100 plus 80 gives 180 degrees. So the sum of angles on a straight line is 180 degrees. So this will be going because I need my space. Okay, now it's getting interesting. We've laid the foundation, so now we can fly. All right, so I have this. So now I need you to pay attention because this would seem a bit complicated, but it's not. So we have 52, we have D, we have C, and we have E. Let me write this well so you would see it. So this is 52 degrees, this is D, this is E, and this is C. All right, so we need to find all of those missing letters. But how do I do this when we have three unknowns? We have three unknowns with just one figure. How do we figure it out? Now look at this. You would notice that this is a straight line. You would notice that this is a straight line. These two angles are on a straight line. So both of them being on a straight line means that the sum of both of them would give you 180. So I guess that is a good place to start. So 52 plus D equals 180 degrees. 52 plus D equals 180 degrees. So we need to get our D. So D equals, we'll take 52 over to this side. 52 is positive, so when it goes over to the other side, it becomes negative. So this will be 180 minus 52 degrees. So our angles is in degrees. So 180 minus 52 degrees, this will give us 28 degrees. 180 minus 52 will give us 128. 128 degrees. Yeah, so it means our D is 128 degrees. Now there's a very, very easy way of getting our other answers. Instead of going through this route, we have what we call vertical angles, we have alternate angles, we have corresponding angles. Now vertical angles are always equal. Vertical angles are angles that face each other. This angle with this angle are vertically opposite. They are opposite each other, and vertical angles are always equal. So if this place is 52, it means E would also be 52 degrees. It is in the rule that vertical angles are equal. So 52 degrees, E equals 52 degrees. And you would notice that C and D are also vertical angles. C and D are also vertical angles. So if D, as we've calculated it to be 128, D is 128, that means C would also be 128. That is because they are vertical angles, and vertical angles are always equal. So our C is 128 degrees, and then E is 52 degrees. Yeah, E is 52 degrees. So this is a very, very easy way of getting your other angles instead of trying to work everything out the regular way. So when you do that, when you follow the rules, you would get your answers almost immediately. All right, next question. I might need to clean this other side. This is getting interesting. So my next question would be this. So this is X. This is 140 degrees, and this is 120 degrees. So you would notice that these angles are all angles at a point. Angles at a point. And I remember telling you that the sum of angles at a point is 360. Sum of angles at a point is 360. It means when we add up all of these, they have to give us 360. But we need to find x. So for us to find x, you add up what we have. So that will be 120 plus 140 plus x. All of these have to sum up to 360 degrees because they are angles at a point. So let's add this up. When we add this up, this would give us 260. 260 plus x equals 360 degrees. And then we need to get our value for x. Since for us to get our value for x, we need to move our 260 to the other side. And because 260 is positive, when it goes over to the other side, it becomes negative. So this would be 360 minus 260, and x would be 100 degrees. And if you should slot in your values inside here, when you add everything up and you include your 100, it will give you 360. If your answer does not give you 360, it means your answer is wrong. So when you've gotten your answer, you need to always check to be sure that your answer is actually correct. Okay, so the next question, let's move up to some complicated ones. Not actually complicated though. Not actually complicated. So I think I will need a bigger space. Let me clean this. So I have this, and this. So this is 100 degrees. This is G. This is F. This is 35. And this is H. So we need to get the values for H, F, and G. Let's start up with H. Here, you will notice that this is a straight line, and all of these angles are all on that straight line. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us that the sum of those three angles equals 180. So, 100 plus 35 plus H equals 180 degrees. 180 degrees. So let's sum this up. This will be 135 plus H equals 180 degrees. And we are to solve for H. So we're taking this over to the other side. It becomes 180 minus 135. And when we subtract this, we would get 45 degrees. 180 minus 35 is 45 degrees. So it means our H is 45. Our H is 45. Now you would notice that this angle, this 100, and this F are vertical angles. 100, this angle here and this angle here, they are vertical angles. And remember, we mentioned it that vertical angles are equal. So if vertical angles are equal, it means F is equal to 100 degrees. F is equal to 100 degrees. Now you would also notice that these two angles are facing the angle G. These two angles right here are facing the angle G. So it means that the sum of 45 and 35 equals G. 45 and 35 will give us 80. 45 and 35 will give us 80 degrees. So that means G equals 80 degrees. G equals 80 degrees. Or if you want to check, since we've gotten our 100, F to be 100, this is a straight line. That means F and G are on a straight line, then that it means that the sum of f and g would give you 180. So if f is 100 and we don't know what g is, when you take away 100 from 180, you will get 80. So it means we are correct. So h is 45, f is 100, and g is 80. H is 45 when we calculated it from here. F is 100 because vertical angles are equal. Then G equals 80 because vertical angles are also equal. Or you could use the answer we got for F to get our value for G. It's as easy as that. Super easy. Very, very easy. So if you remember all of those details, it will help you when you're solving questions. When you remember all of those details, it makes things super easy for you. So I'm going to be, so we have this, then we have M, we have N, we have L, and we have 57. Then we have P, Q, J, and K. Wow, that's a lot of letters. That's a lot of letters, but it's super easy and we are going to get it done. We are going to get it done. All right, so we've been given 57 degrees alone. We've been given 57 degrees alone, and we need to sort out. So we just have to take it one after the other. Let's take it one after the other. So from here, you would notice that this is a straight line. This is a straight line, and these two angles are on the straight line. So that means the sum of 57 and M would give you 180. So 57 plus M equals 180 degrees. M would equal 180 minus 57. And when you subtract this, you would get 123 degrees. So that means M is 123 degrees. Ooh la la. Now you would notice that 57 and angle N are vertical angles. 57 and angle N are vertical angles. So the angles are equal. It means N is equal to 57 degrees. That's because they are vertically opposite. They are vertical angles, and vertical angles are always equal. So N is equal to 57. L is opposite to M. Can you see that? L is opposite to M. So if L is opposite to M, it means that they are equal. Vertical angles are equal. So L is equal to 123 degrees. Now we are getting places. We found our M, we found N, we found L. How do we get all of this? Now there's something called corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, M and P are corresponding angles. M and P are corresponding angles. And corresponding angles are equal. Corresponding angles are equal. So that means our value for M is 123. It means P is 123 degrees because they are corresponding angles. They are corresponding angles. M is equal to P. Okay, let me write it here. M is equal to P, and that is equal to 123 degrees because they are corresponding angles. Corresponding angles. N is equal to 57 because they are vertical angles. Whenever you solve, you have to Always put your reason so that the examiner will know that you know what you are doing. So L is equal to 123, or would say M is equal to L, which is equal to 123, because they are vertical angles. They are vertical angles. Okay, good. So if our P is 123 degrees, that means K would also be 123 degrees. I'm trying to, so that you can see the board. So if P is 123, it means that K would also be 123 degrees, and that is because they are vertical angles. So P is equal to K, which is equal to 123 degrees. They are vertical angles. Vertical angles. P is equal to K, so I have this here. So 57 and Q, these angles here are corresponding angles. You could either use that, or you could say that Q and P are both on a straight line, and that means that they would both sum up to 180. So you could either use the corresponding route, or you tell us that PQ is equal to 57 because they are corresponding angles. So Q equals 57 degrees because they are corresponding. They are corresponding angles. Don't mind my handwriting, please. So Q is 57. So if Q is 57, definitely our J would also be 57. Can you guess? That's because they are vertical angles. So Q is equal to J, which is equal to 57. And that is because they are vertical angles. They are vertical angles, and voila, we've gotten all values for the missing letters. We've gotten our values for M, N, L, P, Q, K, and J. Super easy. Super easy. All right, let's take another question. This has been interesting so far. We've been solving angles in a polygon. Angles in a polygon. Angles in a polygon. So we have so I have here to be 63. I have here to be S. I have here to be T. I have here to be 41. Here is M. We have R, and this is Y. How do we go about this? Ooh la la. How do we go about this? So, first of all, this is a straight line. These two angles are on a straight line, and that means the sum of both angles would equal 180 degrees. So it means that M plus 41 equals 180 degrees. M plus 41 equals 180 degrees. So M would equal 180 minus 41. And this would give us 139. 139. It means M is 139 degrees. Now, since we've gotten M, we need to get S. Now, the angle 41 and angle S, they are what we call alternate angles. Another way you can figure them out is that we call them the Z angles. Now, this angle is always equal to this angle, and you would notice that this gives you the Z shape. So this angle equals this angle. So that means S is equal to 41 degrees. Y they are alternate angles, or we call them alternate interior. They are alternate angles. So S is equal to 41. Good. We are going places. Now, since we've gotten S, you would notice that these angles right here, they are all on a straight line. And remember what that says. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. Angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So that means 41 plus 63 plus t equals 180 degrees. 41 plus 63 plus t equals 180 degrees. So let's sum this up. This will be 104 plus t equals 180. So t equals 180 minus 104. So that means t equals to 76 degrees. Okay. T equals 76 degrees. Now this right here is a triangle. And the sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. The sum of angles in a triangle is 180 degrees. So it means the addition of 41 and 76 and r will give us 180 degrees. That is how we are going to find the value for r. So 41 plus 76 plus r equals 180 degrees. That is the sum of angles in a triangle. That's because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180 degrees. When you solve your question, you have to be able to state your reason for writing out that equation. So whatever equation you write out, you have to state your reason. I'm not writing it because of lack of space on the board, but when you're solving it in probably as an assignment or a classwork or in the examination room, when you state your equation, you must always state the reason so that the examiner would know that this guy, this girl knows what he or she is doing. So this would sum up to 180 because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So let's add this together. So this would be 117 plus r equals 180. So r equals 180 minus 117. So what will r be? R would be 63 degrees. R is 63 degrees. And since we know what r is, we should be able to know what y is because they are both on a straight line, and the angles on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So if our angles add up to 180 degrees, that means 63 plus y equals 180 degrees. 63 plus y equals 180 degrees. So y equals 180 minus 63, and that will give us 117 degrees. So you would notice that here, this angle here, 63 and this are equal. That is because they are also alternate angles. They are alternate angles. They are z angles, and alternate angles are equal. So you could also say that r, even without working it out the way if you write that r is equal to 63 because they are alternate angles, you are also correct. Okay, and then we've gotten our values for y. Our values for y is 117 degrees. Another angle you could use to get this answer is that the the sum of two interior angles is equal to exterior angles. So the sum of two interior angles equals to the exterior angle. So the sum of both of them is the same as our this is an exterior angle. It is outside the triangle. So there are different ways of solving of getting our answers. There are different ways of solving our questions. You just need to be able to prove your point. It's just like a lawyer in the court of law. When you bring up a case, you should be able to back your findings with evidences. So when you're solving your question, you should be able to state your reason to tell the examiner that you understand what you're doing, you know what you're doing. So there are different ways to get your answer. Just be able to prove your point. That's it. So this was a very, very interesting one. Now let's try to solve another interesting question. Remember, we started from the very, very easy one, and then we are moving to the very, very interesting ones. They are not complicated. They are just very interesting. So, yeah. Okay, so I have... Now, don't be scared of this. It is not as difficult as it looks. It's Believe me, it is not as difficult as it looks. Pardon my drawing. So we have this to be 124 degrees. We have this to be y degrees. We have this to be z. This is x. This is 79 degrees. This is w. Okay. All right. So let us see what we can do. How do we go about this? So, first of all, you would notice that the y and 124 are vertical angles, and we know that vertical angles are equal. So y equals to 124 degrees because they are vertical angles. Okay, they are vertical angles. All right, so this is 124 degrees. Okay, so we need to... how do we get our other angles? Now you would notice that this angle and this angle are corresponding angles, and we know that corresponding angles are equal. So W is equal to 124 degrees, and that's because they are corresponding angles. So our W is 124 degrees. Now, if our W is 124, this is a straight line, and these two angles are both on a straight line. And if we have two angles on a straight line, they sum up to 180, remember. So our x plus 124 sums up to 180. And to get our x, we subtract 124 from 180, and we will get 56 degrees. So our x is 56 degrees. Now we are left with z. Ooh la la. How do we get z? Now you would notice that this shape inside here is a quadrilateral. Quadrilaterals are four-sided shapes. And the sum of angles in a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. Yes, the sum of angles in a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. So for us to work out our value for z, that means we have to sum up everything and equate it to 360 degrees. So let's work it out. So this is 124 plus 56 plus 79 plus z equals 360 degrees. That is because the sum of angles in a quadrilateral equals 360. That's the reason. That's the reason for this equation here. They all sum up to 360 because the sum of angles in the quadrilateral equals 360. So let's add up. So the addition of this with this will give us 180. So let's add 180 to 79. That would give us 259. 259 plus z equals 360. Okay, so we need to get the value for z. So z equals 360 minus 259. Ooh la la. So what do you think our answer would be? What do you think our answer would be? So when we subtract this, we would have 101. 360 minus 259 is 101 degrees. Yeah, so yes, our answer, so that means Z is 101 degrees. Now, if we want to check, let's add it up and see if we would get 360. I told you that that's another way to check if your answer is actually correct. Sum it up. Add the angles together to see if you would get. So we have 124, we have 101, we have 56, we have 79. Okay. So 9 plus 1 is 10. 6 plus 4 is 10. That's 20. So 0 would carry 2 here. So 4 plus 5 is 9. 9 plus 7 is 16. So 6 carry 1. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. And voila! Our answer is correct. The sum of angles in a quadrilateral is 360. Amazing, isn't it? Yeah. All right. So let's take, we have, our time is really running. Our time is really running. So now let's solve angles in a triangle. Angles in a triangle. Remember, we said that the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So if I have this angle to be 20, I have this angle to be 110, and I have this angle to be x. How do I get my missing angle? So we sum it up and equate it to 180. That is because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180 degrees. So now let's add this together. 110 plus 20 would give 130. And our x equals 180 minus 130. This would give us 50 degrees. So it means this missing angle here is 50 degrees. Easy peasy, isn't it? Okay. Let's keep going. I have this question here. So this is 121. This is B. This is C. This is D. And this is 72 degrees. Okay. This is beautiful. This is a very beautiful question. So these two angles are on a straight line. That means that they sum up to 180. So that means B plus 121 equals to 180. B equals 180 minus 121. The reason for this is that their angles on a straight line equals 180. That's the reason for this. So 180 minus 121, and our value for B is 59. Yeah, 59. So B is 59. 180 minus 121 is 59. Now to get our D, these two angles are also on a straight line. So that means D plus 72 equals 180. That's because sum of angles on a straight line equals 180. So D equals 180 minus 72. D equals 180 minus, so, and that would give us 108. So our D is 108. So now that I have my values for B and I have 72 here, I can get my value for C because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So 59 plus 72 plus C equals 180. Let's add this together. When we add those together, 59 plus 72 will give us 131. 131 plus C equals 180. C equals 180 minus 131. And what would that give us? That would give us 49. That will give us 49 degrees. 49 degrees. So our value for C is 49. Our value for B is 59. And our value for D is 108. Easy peasy. Very, very easy. Super easy. Math is interesting. You just need to know the rules. You just need to know the rules. So let's pick our next set of questions. Okay, this is getting interesting. We'll just solve a few more questions and then we'll call it a day. Then we can conclude it by next week if time doesn't permit. So I have this and this extends this way. I have 45 here. I have 53. I have P. I have this to be R and this to be Q. Okay. This is 53. All right. So you will notice that inside the triangle, I have two angles. And with those two angles, I can get my third angle because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So that means 45 plus 53 plus P equals to 180. Sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So let's add this together. This will be 98. So 98 plus P equals 180. P equals 180 minus 98. Okay, so P equals 82. Yeah, P equals 82. So our P equals 82 degrees. Now, since we've gotten P, we'll be able to get R because they are both on a straight line. And the sum of angles on a straight line equals 180. So 82 plus R equals 180 degrees. Angles on a straight line equals 180. So R will be 180 minus 82. And that will give us 98. So our R is 98 degrees. Now we need to get our angle for Q. We need to get our angle for Q. Angle for Q. This, do you see that? This angle is alternate to this. And alternate angles are equal. So if P equals 82, it means Q would also be 82 because they are alternate angles and alternate angles are equal. So P equals Q and Q equals 82. That's because they are alternate angles. Alternate angles are equal. Sorry, I don't have space. So alternate angles are equal. P equals Q and Q equals 82. Alternate angles are equal. So we can see that our we've gotten our answers, and I'm really excited because math is fun, math is interesting. You just need to follow the rules. When you follow the rules, when you know the reason behind some things, you would be able to solve most of all of these questions. Okay, let's take like two more questions before our time will be up. So, okay, let me use this side. I prefer using this side. Okay, I will have enough space to explore. Okay, so I have this. Um, this is 40 degrees. This side and this side are equal, and then I have E, and then I have F. Okay, so one thing you need to know that if you see these two marks, same marks on different sides, it tells you that those two sides are equal. And if these two sides are equal, this is called an isosceles triangle. And isosceles triangles are triangles that their base angles are equal. The angles are the base. So this triangle is actually like this. So these two sides are equal. If these two sides are equal, these two angles would be equal. So whatever this angle would be the same thing as this angle. So we've been told that this part is 40 degrees. So it means that this angle and this angle are the same. Let's call them x. Let's just use x. So if this side is x, this angle would also be x. Not side, please, angle. They are equal. That is why I'm using the same letters for them to be very easy for us to solve. So I'm using the same variable to represent those angles because those angles are equal. So if this side is x, this side will also be x because they are isosceles. They are the triangle is an isosceles triangle and the base angles are equal. So please, you can share the live. I don't want you to enjoy this alone. Please help share the live so that other people that have interest in this would also join in and enjoy with us. Thank you. So this is an isosceles triangle. So the base angles are equal. So x plus 40 equals 180 degrees. That sum of angles in the triangle is equal to 180 degrees. Pardon my handwriting. So the sum of angles in the triangle is equal to 180. So x plus x is 2x. So 2x plus 40 equals 180. Let's move our 40 to the other side. So 2x equals 180 minus 40. 2x equals to 140. I need to find a value for x. So that means I'll divide both sides by 2 and my x equals to 70. So that means this angle, if this angle is 70, this angle will also be 70. Let's try to check if the sum of both angles would give us 180. 70 plus 70 is 140, and 140 plus 40 gives us 180, and we are correct. And it's correct, 180 degrees. So when you see these two marks, it means that this triangle is an isosceles triangle, and if this is an isosceles triangle, the base angles must be equal. So if you are given a question, probably you are given a question like this, and you are told that this side is 50, and you are giving this side to be 65. You're giving this side to be 65 and you don't know what this is. You're giving that to be 65 and you don't know what this is. Because this is an isosceles triangle and you've been told that this side is 65, automatically this angle, why do I keep saying side? This angle, not side, please. This angle is 65. So automatically, this angle will also be 65 degrees because it is an isosceles triangle, and those are base angles. Base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. All right. So I hope that is clear. Okay. All right. Good. I like this question. I love this question. So this will be our last question for today. Yeah, this will be our last question for today. So I have it is an isosceles triangle. I have this to be 63 degrees. I don't know what this is, and I don't know what this is. So I'm being told to find G and E. Okay. I'm being told to find G and E. So because I see this mark here, it tells me that this is an isosceles triangle. And if it is an isosceles triangle, the base angles are equal. So if this angle is 63 degrees, it means G is also 63 degrees. Base angles in an isosceles triangle are equal. That's our reason. You must always state your reason. So our G equals 63 degrees. Now, since we know our G and we've been given this, getting angle E would be very, very easy. That's because the sum of angles in a triangle equals 180. So 63 plus 63 plus E equals 180 degrees. That's because sum of angles in a triangle. So let's sum this up together. This will be 126 plus E equals 180 degrees. So E equals 180 minus 126. And what would that give us? That would give us 54 degrees. Oops, 54 degrees, yeah. So it means our angle is 54 degrees. And we have come to the end of our live session for today. I hope it was interesting. If you enjoyed, you can follow my page. And if you want me, if there's any topic you want me to teach next, if there's any question you have issues with and you want me to work on, please, you can drop it in my DM and I will definitely respond. We're going to be doing this same time next week. Thank you so much for joining. I really do appreciate. I feel honored actually. I feel honored seeing all of you guys in my live and even inviting and sharing. Thank you so much for sharing the live. Thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next week. Bye bye. See you.